Mike Klein.
I'm here, buddy.
How you doing today, Doc?
I'm doing good. How are you, Lonzo?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. We just talking you up a few minutes ago to our audience. Folks have been asking about you for years. I did the best I could. Like I said, like I just told them, it was 35 years ago. So I forgot a few things. It wasn't combat boots. It was cowboy boots. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to have you.
Mike had the combat boots.
Mike had, right, the big dude you had in the lobby that before you opened. He was actually a door, like the doorman. He was so damn big. He should have been on somebody's line, been a linebacker. But he was a good dude.
He did. He played for San Francisco and Minnesota.
Okay, I believe that because he's a big son of a bitch. Okay, but he was cool.
300 pounds of muscle.
Big dude, big human being. Okay. Mike, how you doing, man?
I'm good, buddy. It's been a long time, Alonzo.
Yes, it has. I'm glad you came up. I'm glad you called me, man. I was surprised when Gary gave me the call, said you wanted to be on the show. What made you want to come on the show, man? I'm just curious. I'm curious to hear the story.
There's so many videos out there and so many misconceptions. I thought if I was going to do this, I'd do it with you. I don't know these other people, but everybody out there talks about me like they know me and they know nothing about me.
I appreciate it, Doc. Good looking out. Good looking out. My man here, I got a co-host with me. We call him Dusty Vision. He's a hip-hop enthusiast extraordinaire, and he's been hosting the show with me for the last few years. He helped me do everything. So he got some questions for you. The chat room got questions for you. But before we get into that, man, tell us what you're doing right now, man.
Well, I'm obviously before Ruthless, I was a businessman, and I'm still a businessman. I develop real estate, and I'm a CEO of a company that makes water out of the atmosphere. So I own this company that generates water out of the atmosphere, and I protect some of the wealthiest people in the world.
Oh, you still in the security business, huh?
Oh, I've been doing that for a long time.
Now, I read an article just the other day, and Jerry said when he first met you, you were holding two severed heads.
Well, we don't need to get into that.
He told me the story long time ago, and I'm saying I just read this recently, and just the fact that you don't want to talk about it lets me know that it's something to it. Anyway, Dusty, you got a question for him?
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you, Mr. Klein, and thank you so much for joining us today. Can you, before we jump into your days with Eazy and Jerry and things like that, can you give us an idea, tell us, about your life growing up that led into your military training and things like that?
Well, I was brought up in Israel. I think everybody knows that. And I'm a specialist in self-defense and weaponry and that kind of stuff. I taught self-defense. I used to teach karate and boxing. Like I said, my history in Israel will stay history, and I don't like to get into that because it's private and discloses things that I cannot talk about. But anything to do with Ruthless and stuff like that, I'll be more than happy to talk about how it happened, what happened, and there was a lot more involved than just security.
At what point in time did you join the Ruthless family?
It was somewhere about 91, I'd say.
Okay. Was there a particular incident that brought you on board, or you just came in?
Well, Jerry called me because of the situation that he was having with Suge Knight.
Okay.
What was that conversation like? What did, to the best of your memory, what did he tell you that was going on?
Jerry's known me from the 80s. I happen to have office. I used to own a clothing manufacturing facility, and he had his offices across way from me, and he knew some of my employees, and I got to meet him in the 80s. And he called me, said he had an issue, told me what the issue is, asked if I could help. I said I can. I said if I do help, they have to listen to me and do as I say. I don't listen to anybody or I don't take orders. if they want to do it, they have to do it my way. And both him and Eazy agreed. And that's when I came in to help them first secure the facilities and make sure that we had the proper security in-house. The security that you can see, and the security that you can't see. And that's the most important one, is that the one that you cannot see. Okay? So
Yes.
what you see as far as bodyguard is security for inside the location. The security that you don't see, that was outside, that nobody's aware of and nobody saw, but that's special type of security.
Interesting.
Ooh. Let me ask you. You mentioned misconceptions earlier. What is the most common misconception or the biggest untruth that you hear out there when you watch these YouTube videos and interviews and things like that with other people?
Well, the misconception, you know, the security was a very small part of it. That was handled very quickly. But then there was the business aspect of the Ruthless record that nobody's aware of. And I was brought in as security, and obviously to do that, obviously I needed to be paid a certain amount of money, and part of it came from Ruthless and part of it came from Jerry. I got a percentage of what Jerry owned. And when I looked at the business structure, I told Jerry, I said, Jerry, the way you have this business structure, you'll never be able to pay me. So we had to change the whole structure of the business. That's what nobody's aware of, what transpired. So when I came in with security, it wasn't just with security, it was with lawyers and legal ramifications. As soon as we got involved, we filed lawsuits against Sony, SUGE, N.W.A, and other people. The release that Eazy signed was nil and void because it was done under duress. And to get somebody to sign a release, there's got to be what's called consideration, if you guys know what that is.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, so consideration means I can't come and take your car away from you and say, give me your car, and now it's mine. Unless I pay you something for it.
Okay.
That's what's called consideration, okay?
Okay.
And when Eazy signed those releases, there was no what's called consideration, okay?
Okay.
So we immediately sent a letter to everybody in the industry that made it very clear if anybody was to do any business with any artists that are signed to Ruthless Records, they would be sued for interference with contractual agreements. And prior to that, we filed lawsuits. So I set up all the lawyers and set up all the business entities to do what we needed to do. The other issue that we had was Jerry was a good friend and a very nice guy, but he made some serious mistakes when it came to structuring the business. So I don't know if you know the history. When they set up distributionship for Ruthless Records, it was done through Priority Records, Brian Turner.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
I remember that part.
Okay. So Priority Records was the record company. Ruthless Records was nothing but a production company.
Right.
Ruthless Records at that time owned no masters, okay? And when you take 100% of a deal, Ruthless only owned from 16 to 20% of the revenue, with no owning of any master recordings. And you know the master recordings is what makes the value for the company.
Right.
Okay? So when I got involved, Jerry just redid the same deal with Brian for another 5 years. Okay? So I had to get us out of that deal, and don't ask how I did it. Okay?
Okay.
But I got us out of that deal and then had to renegotiate deals with other entities, which I did them all. The first entity that we were doing a deal with was BMG Pitt Jones. And he was to fly down and sign the deal with us and give us a bunch of money and do a deal. And the night before, he called and said he was not going to be able to do the deal. So we were negotiating with RED, which was a subsidiary of Sony that we ended up doing a deal with. And I was the one that did the deal, where now we owned anywhere from 80 to 84% of the deal, and we owned all the masters. Okay. So Sony through RED distributed us, but now we own the masters, and we own 80 to 86% of the deal, depending on the artist.